Welcome on board the Newstrack. I'm Rahul Kanwal. Who holds the edge if elections in Uttar Pradesh were held today? Has the BJP been able to put its house in order? Or will this reported difference between Lucknow and Delhi hurt the party's prospects in February 2022? That's my top focus on the Newstrack. Days, 3 top-level meetings. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has had a power-packed visit to the capital after his meeting with Home Minister Amit Shah that lasted over an hour and a half on Thursday. The UP Chief Minister met Prime Minister Modi today. The meetings have set off speculation as they come on the back of reported friction between Lucknow and Delhi.
The last 2 months have been very challenging for Yogi Adityanath. In the backdrop of growing discontentment over handling of the second COVID wave, the Chief Minister arrived in the national capital on Thursday. All eyes were on him meeting the Prime Minister at his residence at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg. The meeting lasted for almost an hour and both leaders discussed various issues, including next year's crucial assembly polls. But his meeting with the Prime Minister had suspense and speculation as it came amid reports of friction between the two. This after the Prime Minister did not wish Chief Minister Yogi on his birthday, and the Chief Minister also did not invite the Prime Minister to the BJP RSS stock-taking meet. Also, the Prime Minister's picture was missing from UP BJP and UP government handles.
8 months to state polls, and Yogi Adityanath faces both administrative challenges as well as organizational hiccups in Uttar Pradesh. Against this backdrop, his 1-hour-long meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi assumes a lot of significance. It is expected that while the two leaders must have discussed COVID management on the ground, it is also likely that the Prime Minister would have advised the Chief Minister on better coordination between the government and the party in the state.
Yogi Adityanath then met with BJP Chief JP Nadda. This as the BJP has decided to prepare a strategy to strengthen its image in the state ahead of next year's polls. Party sources have told India Today that the top BJP leadership is unhappy with the functioning of the Uttar Pradesh government, especially the handling of the COVID crisis. India Today has also learned that the party leadership's dissatisfaction with the Yogi government stems from a range of issues. Several BJP MPs and MLAs are learned to have complained to the BJP top brass about Yogi's poor handling of the second wave. The anger rose especially after bodies were seen floating in the Ganga. The poor performance in the Panchayat polls and Yogi's reported opposition to the appointment of former bureaucrat A.K. Sharma, known to be close to Prime Minister Modi, has only widened the rift. Yogi's Delhi visit had a power-packed schedule, from meeting Home Minister Amit Shah within hours of his arrival to meeting Prime Minister and JP Nadda one after the other on Friday. The big question now is everything fine in Yogi's government, or has a clear message been sent to him by the Prime Minister and the party's top brass? With Paulmi Saha in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
With just months to go for the Uttar Pradesh elections, the BJP is getting battle ready. The party has worked out a list of 8 priority focus areas. Since May, there have been a series of meetings held by BJP and RSS officials to take stock of the situation in the state. Our BJP correspondent Himanshu Mishra breaks down the party's plan for Uttar Pradesh.
A series of high-level meetings. New inductions.
बुके देके आपका स्वागत करें.
The party that rules Uttar Pradesh, India's most populous state, is padding up for the assembly elections that are 8 months away. The BJP leadership has already taken feedback from its alliance partners and party workers. The message from the ground, however, is not all good. Sources tell India Today the alleged mismanagement of COVID pandemic in UP can backfire for the Yogi Adityanath government. They are worried it could cost them at least 100 seats if they don't act now and act decisively. The BJP has worked out an 8-point battle plan. The first and foremost task on the agenda is an expansion of the cabinet. New faces could help in an image makeover as well as by placating angry members. This includes alliance partners who claim their views were not taken into account in the last 4 years. There are clear indications already. Home Minister Amit Shah met allies Anupriya Patel and Sanjay Nishad, who are likely to get ministerial posts. The BJP has to set its house in order as well. The Chief Minister's alleged autocratic style of working has anguished many party workers. Sources claim that Yogi Adityanath has been asked to increase interaction with party MLAs over the next 6 months. While there may be changes in cabinet, sources say there will be no change in the party leadership in the state. Swatantra Dev Singh, sources say, will continue to serve as the state party chief despite the setbacks suffered in the Panchayat polls. This is because the party feels a Thakur chief minister and a state chief from a backward community works best for its image in the present scenario.
Piyush Goyal ji,
Jitin Prasada's induction in the party, sources say, will help the party hold on to Brahmin votes. The state government will also boost its anti-COVID vaccination drive. Work on key development projects like Bundelkhand Expressway, Regional Rapid Transit System, Jewar Airport and women's schemes will be expedited. The BJP says it will reach out to the economically weaker sections. The UP government has granted 230 crore rupees to 23 lakh labourers. Sources say many more such schemes are likely. The Saffron Party will stick to its Hindutva card. The party is banking on issues like Anti-Romeo Brigade, Love Jihad Law, Ayodhya Temple and Grand Diwali celebrations to hold on to its core vote bank.
There are some loopholes amid the party, be it the dominance of bureaucracy or some other factors, but as per the party seniors, be it BL Santosh or Radha Mohan Singh, there is nothing like that happening in BJP, and Yogi Adityanath will remain the face for the UP 2021 elections, Vidhan Sabha elections. With cameraman Amit, Samar Srivastava for India Today.
Through these meetings, the BJP is trying to signal that all is well in the saffron fold in Uttar Pradesh and that the problems between the organization and the Chief Minister are now in the past. Let's look towards the future. With elections early next year, who holds the edge? Have differences genuinely been dealt with and ironed out in the BJP, or is the disappointment too bitter, and will it keep coming to the fore as the weeks and months wear on? Joining us on this broadcast, I want to welcome, first representing the BJP, Anila Singh. With us on this broadcast is Yogi Adityanath's biographer, Shantanu Gupta. He tracks Uttar Pradesh politics closely. We have Ghanshyam Tiwari for a perspective from the opposition, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, and two political voices. I have Sanjay Kumar, cephalogist, director of CSDS, and we have Yashwant Deshmukh from Sea Voter, and we'll try and understand from them their reading of the numbers and the state of play in Uttar Pradesh at this moment. I want to go first to Sanjay Kumar for his sense of who would win Uttar Pradesh if elections are held at this moment. Let's take as a given that the opposition at this moment is fragmented. If it comes together, we'll come to that later in the show. But if things stay the way they are, the opposition parties fight separately. The BJP goes into a little bit of bickering and internal infighting, but not so bad. With Yogi Adityanath as their chief minister, what do you think would happen if elections are held just now? Sanjay Kumar.
Yes, Rahul, I am very clear. If elections are held tomorrow and the way opposition is fragmented, I think there's a clear edge for BJP, and mainly because the opposition is fragmented. Look at all the states where BJP faced the challenge or BJP managed to lose election, and the recent one is Bengal. You need a strong opposition to defeat BJP at this moment. In UP, BJP, look at the vote share of BJP. 2019 Lok Sabha elections, 2017 Lok Sabha elections, 2014 Lok Sabha elections. BJP has touched almost 45-50% vote along with the allies. So you need to pull down BJP by almost 10% vote if at all you want to pose a challenge, and all these 10% votes should go to one party. That's not likely to happen. The nearest rival, which could be Samajwadi Party, BSP, we can't even think of Congress as the nearest rival to BJP. They are standing with roughly about 25-26% vote. So in order to one of these parties to pose a challenge for BJP, they have to pull 10% vote from BJP and add all those 10% votes to their party, which is unlikely to happen. And that is why I say BJP has a clear advantage in UP.
Yashwant Deshmukh, do you agree with Sanjay Kumar's assessment that even though there has been this infighting, ministers not getting along, organization not getting along with the chief minister, allegations of Thakurwad, etc., this is just the sideshow? Net, at this moment, the opposition being the way it is, the BJP has a clear and clean edge in Uttar Pradesh. Do you agree? Or do you think because of what happened during the COVID pandemic, because of dead bodies showing up in different parts of the Ganga, there is a certain amount of anti-incumbency that's built against the BJP now?
Well, anti-incumbency or the anger is certainly there, but as Sanjay Bhai said that, the arithmetic is classically in favor of the BJP at this point of time. Even if you pull out the 10% votes away from the BJP, they are still at 35-36%, and that is like in a triangular contest more than enough to get the majority, clear majority. Unless there is a Mahagathbandhan of sort, just like in 2019, which was a right Mahagathbandhan at the wrong time, I would say, because the Modi magic was going ahead, and BJP has almost like anywhere between 10 to 20% of Modi dividend when going in for the Lok Sabha elections. So that is a different case altogether. But however, in case of Uttar Pradesh, unless there is a Mahagathbandhan, very clear-cut Mahagathbandhan of not just two, but basically all the four parties coming together, electorally speaking, I don't think they have a fight against the BJP at this point.
Now, the problem with the Mahagathbandhan theory, Ghanshyam Tiwari, is that Akhilesh is tied up with Rahul Gandhi, that bombed in 2017, then tied up with Mayawati for the 2019 elections, which was supposed to be a big Gathbandhan, that bombed against the Modi wave. And in the way that things are, Mayawati is not close to Akhilesh. Rahul Gandhi and Akhilesh aren't really talking about an alliance either. Do you accept the assessment of Sanjay Kumar and Yashwant Deshmukh that as things stand, it's the BJP that has the edge in Uttar Pradesh?
Well, let's look at the BJP's edge. The BJP's edge means that the 1 crore jobs that they promised by June in Uttar Pradesh are not delivered. Dead bodies floating in Ganga and Yamuna and by the side, not recognized. Teachers dead, more than 1,600, not recognized. Journalists put in jail. People in civil society put in jail. Yogi's leadership is an ego ride that just dashed in Delhi today. And Mr. Modi's leadership is about saving his image. After what happened in Didi O Didi, Bengal, Yogi is going to fall flat because people...
No, but a lot of this, Ghanshyam Tiwari, with respect is political rhetoric. Elections are about arithmetic, they're about numbers. And the reality of Uttar Pradesh politics as it stands at the moment, Samajwadi Party, BSP, RLD fighting separately don't seem to be able to pose a threat to the BJP of Modi, Yogi and Shah.
Well, let's differentiate elections from a reality show. If people are saying that governance is rhetoric, then what is the democracy about? If journalists could be put in jail and it would be called rhetoric, if people could be led to die and it would be called rhetoric, if teachers could be allowed to die and it would be called rhetoric, then what is politics? If you have a person who as a mission of statecraft, divides society continuously, the farmers in Western Uttar Pradesh are camping every day. This government has not responded. In 2022, Mr. Modi's mascot is diminished. He's seen as an incompetent prime minister leading an incompetent government, and Yogi never had a chance, never had a ride on governance. He is a Hindutva leader who terrorizes people. So clearly, BJP has nothing to show except accept their brand of hate politics. Then
Anila
the question
Singh,
is, in the
Ghanshyam
middle of all
Tiwari
this
and the
anger
opposition
and
will
pain,
count
is
on
the hate
anger,
politics going
they'll
to
count
succeed?
on anti-incumbency, they'll reflect on what happened in West Bengal and say Kolkata's results are proof that Modi, Shah and Yogi are not invincible and that the opposition has a chance because anger has built up against the BJP and 2022 is not 2019.
Rahul, this is nothing more than wishful thinking of opposition, especially if I talk about Samajwadi Party's leader Akhilesh Yadav ji. He is sitting at home very calmly, very happily playing tennis in between tweeting about the political scenario or COVID scenario of Uttar Pradesh. So let me tell Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari ji, we are talking about Uttar Pradesh, a place which is so much vibrant about the politics, I can say. And the people living in a village, a common rickshaw puller, even he understands politics very, very well. So if we talk about the COVID situation right now, you are thinking that you are going to gain any sort of political points out of it, then I am going to say you are sadly mistaken. Or if we talk about the farmers' agitation, you're going to gain anything out of it, then again you are sadly mistaken. So the farmers, they say, okay, fine, if we have got some problem with Bharatiya Janata Party, why Samajwadi Party, Congress or BSP are jumping in between? What these political parties did for us? And the answer is nothing, big zero. Like we have got many things to show. Yes, we did this for the farmers. And if you talk about the COVID situation, what Mr. Akhilesh Yadav was doing? Nothing. What Mrs. Vadra was doing? Nothing. And Mayawati ji, I mean, we don't know where she is. I had asked one of her supporters that have you filed FIR? I mean, we haven't seen her since long. Where
Okay,
is she?
Sharad Pradhan,
So definitely,
what's your reading of the state of play? Does the BJP have the edge? You've got your nose on the ground, or do you think that in the way things are emerging after the pandemic, a certain amount of anti-incumbency has now built against the ruling dispensation in Lucknow?
Well, if elections were to be held today, I see no reason why Yogi Adityanath can bounce back. You know, people are forgetting, if we were not, obviously elections are not contested merely on statistics, past statistics. There are issues, there are factors, and factors like COVID cannot be ignored. After all, thousands of people have died. There are unaccounted deaths.
No, but elections are early next year. Elections are February 2022. If elections are held today, it may be tougher. But Modi, Yogi and Shah have several months between now and February to try and recover lost ground.
Agreed. They would do a lot in the name of damage control. And Modi's magic may play. But Yogi Adityanath, I doubt, is going to really make all the difference. He may be a star campaigner all across the country. We haven't tried to find out how much of it actually works, how much of it worked in West Bengal. There's much publicity. You know, Yogi believes, first of all, he remains a lot in denial mode. You can't tell him that the reality, that he is oblivious of the ground reality. When it happened, then COVID was at its worst. He was busy claiming that nobody has died of shortage of oxygen. Now, even the most blind of bhakts have stopped believing that. You know, after all, people have seen their own relatives dying, whether it is cities, towns, villages, everywhere.
Shantanu Gupta, you understand the mind of the Chief Minister well. Has the Chief Minister been in denial about COVID deaths, about the availability of oxygen at a time when people were running helter-skelter, trying to arrange for oxygen or hospital beds for their loved ones? The Chief Minister said that all is well and that there is no problem, there is no crisis. Are you concerned that some of this could lead to greater anti-incumbency than the BJP has had to deal with since 2014 in UP?
Rahul, I heard all the panelists very patiently. And I'll say why Yogi is coming back in March of 2022. 4 quick reasons, right? One is the vote share, which Sanjay ji and Yashwant ji has very clearly explained. Is 20-20-10, right? 20 to Samajwadi, 20 to BSP, very crudely, and 10 to Congress, right? These vote shares are almost the same in 14 Lok Sabha, 19 Lok Sabha, and 17 Vidhan Sabha, and whatever combination have. This 20 will become 32, 35. This 10, a lot of Congress spokesmen come and say Priyanka Gandhi is becoming Chief Minister. I'm saying people are dreaming that also. So even vote share wise, first of all, is not possible. Now, in fact, I disagree with some of the participants. Even governance wise, Yogi will win. See, people will not say promise versus what's delivered. People see what is delivered in the last government or last to last government, what is delivered now. Just on ration, I'm telling you categorically, just on ration, Yogi will win. the Aadhaar seeding, which we heard Kejriwal doing a press conference a couple of days back, 14 crore people were Aadhaar seeded. 97% ration transaction from last 2.5 years are happening through Aadhaar with 80,000 POS machines. Just on electricity, Yogi will win. The kind of electricity, 8 to 9 hours of more electricity, even rural India are getting. Just on central schemes, how central scheme from gas to house to toilets are being delivered.
Okay,
and
so the X factor in this election is
governance
what happens if the opposition were to come together. What's very clear is with the 2020 10 versus 45 to 50, depending on which election you look at, the advantage is very clearly to the BJP. However, in 2017, the Congress and the SP did come together. In 2019, the SP and the BSP fought together. Is there a possibility that some or all of these parties, Sharad Pradhan, despite what they're saying publicly at this time, can come together, putting aside their differences between now and the beginning of next year?
Well, it is unlikely, and because it is largely believed that Mayawati has already fallen in line with the BJP, and her actions prove that at the moment. So it is unlikely that Mayawati would join hands with anybody, and because that suits the BJP. She will follow the dictates of the BJP.
But she doesn't want to be out of power for so long. Last she was in power was 2012.
I think she has played her innings, and she knows it, that it is not, there's no way that she's going to come back. She knows it, and she is under intimidation, whatever. And for the same reason, maybe Akhilesh is also quiet for the same reason. But at the end of the day, you have seen the Panchayat elections, how Samajwadi Party was number one by default. Agreed.
Okay.
That he did.
Now let's build on that. Anila Singh, I'll call out on the screen right now the results of the municipal and the Panchayat elections. There we saw in the Zillas that the BJP-sponsored backed candidates were trounced and trumped by the Samajwadi Party. It's true that Akhilesh didn't campaign very much. They didn't really have a very robust on-ground presence. Despite that, जब India में जनता गुस्सा हो जाती है, then things happen. And could that be the X factor that could take the BJP down, Anila Singh?
I will make two quick points here. Number one, just now I heard Mr. Pradhan, he said that Mayawati ji is intimidated and Akhilesh Yadav ji is intimidated. So that is why they are quiet and they are not politically active. So it means that they have, for us it will be a cakewalk. We do not have to face any of the political challenge. I do not at all agree with it. The thing is, Mayawati ji, whether we talk about Mayawati ji, whether we talk about Akhilesh Yadav ji, or we talk about Priyanka Valra ji, I think they are the people who love the luxury of sitting in air-conditioned rooms. So, this is, and we know that COVID time is going on. This is a very difficult time, very challenging time. So they are thinking that, okay, let the COVID settle down.
No, this is true. Ghanshyam Tiwari, where is Akhilesh Yadav? Has he been canvassing through the state of Uttar Pradesh? The only person with boots on the ground at this time is Yogi Adityanath. He was in Noida, he's been in Western Uttar Pradesh, he's been traveling across the state despite the pandemic and soon after personally recovering from COVID. He's on the ground. Akhilesh Yadav, for the large part, even his own supporters and well-wishers seem to think, has been missing in action.
He was touring, he started touring only after the show when the COVID was over.
Let's look at
infection was over, COVID infection.
Let me respond. Let's look at Mr. Adityanath. Yes, he was the man in charge of UP Panchayat elections made in the team that they made in January. So BJP is basically an election machine. They come to government to run for elections. They don't win elections to run government. You have to understand that. He was in Bengal campaigning, but he could not attend last rites of his father on COVID because he wanted to respond to COVID. This is the kind of propaganda that Bharatiya Janata Party is able to build. A man who has done more election duty in Bengal than COVID response duty in his own state, which elected him to power. And today he is in Delhi, not for a governance agenda.
Your leader,
it is an ego ride. So Mr. Adityanath touring Bengal, Delhi and Uttar Pradesh is an ego ride. It's an incompetent chief minister who does not see dead bodies, who does not respond to lack of oxygen in the state, lack of medicines, does not respond to teachers who are submitting them a list of teachers who died.
You're finding fault with Yogi Adityanath. But Akhilesh kahan hai? He's not on the ground. He's not out and about. He's not galvanizing the Samajwadi Party cadre in the way that he should have. For the large part, he has been missing in action, almost a passive politician, instead of going out and trying to exploit the weaknesses and vulnerabilities of the Samajwadi Party.
How many leaders can defeat a formidable national campaign by Bharatiya Janata Party for Panchayat elections if he was sitting on the ground and not mobilizing the party? Is there a precedence of that?
Sharad Pradhan, do you buy that Akhilesh has been leading from the front and that the Panchayat results are evidence of that?
Well, no. Yeah, what I feel that he won by default. You are absolutely right in saying that he is not seen on the ground, and for whatever reason, I mean, but there is the speculation is rife that he is now getting active from. He is busy organizing his cadres from home, and as the elections get closer, he is likely to come back on his bicycle and take on the BJP.
Okay, Rahul Srivastav joins us, our National Affairs editor. He's been tracking the meetings that the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh has had in New Delhi. What has been the outcome of these meetings? Is all well now in the saffron fold? Does the BJP central leadership fully back their Chief Minister in Lucknow?
Rahul, difficult for the BJP not to back Yogi Adityanath. Remember, eventually the BJP campaign in UP is going to have a very strong Hindutva dose to it. Now, you don't get rid of a saffron-robed chief minister and then adopt Hindutva as your campaign. So that possibility is there, but very strong message sent on several fronts. One is getting everybody on the same page, the style of functioning in which the organization, the RSS, the legislators and the government, they have been working at cross purposes. They all have to come to the same page. The caste equations, the fabric, that rainbow coalition that BJP benefit from in 2017 and in 2019 is in tatters. The Brahmins, one of the core of the BJP support, are unhappy. The Nishads haven't found any place as they wanted. Anupriya Patel, Apna Dal, Kurmis, not represented. She has been waiting for the last almost 2 years. You have several factions like, say, Rajbars. Om Prakash Rajbar left the alliance. So the same fabric has to be created back. And that is why the back-to-back meetings in which you had Anupriya Patel meeting the BJP top brass in Delhi. The idea is to get this fabric back. Then there is the COVID taint. Means the bodies flowing in the Ganga is perhaps the worst negative perspective builder which the BJP could have found in UP. The free vaccine, centralized, is going to be one of the big mantra as far as this election is concerned. I think a cabinet reject, some accommodation of some prominent representatives is on the cards.
But how
UP,
much truth is there, Rahul, to the suggestion that A.K. Sharma, who's been sent, who's very close to the Prime Minister, was in the Prime Minister's own team, was sent to Lucknow with the suggestion that he would be included into the Uttar Pradesh cabinet? The Chief Minister has been holding out on that. Has that left a bitter taste in the mouths of the powers that be in Delhi?
See, Rahul, it's not just A.K. Sharma. A.K. Sharma was sent predominantly as a feedback provider and somebody who will coordinate. Now, given the style of functioning of Yogi Adityanath, what it seems that it's not just A.K. Sharma. It's the RSS representative like Mr. Sunil Bansal. There are several complaints coming which have manifested in form of the losses in the Panchayat elections and others. Somewhere, accommodation of anybody seems to be an issue. Even MLAs are unhappy that we are not heard. Ministers in the government say we are not heard. MPs are saying we are not heard. There is a general climate of Yogi Adityanath being somebody who is unaccommodative. And I think that's where the clearest signal is going to go, that it is the organization and the BJP and the government who will have to fight the election together.
Shantanu Gupta, respond to the concerns of people within the BJP. We've seen MPs write out, we've seen stories about ministers being happy. I know personally about half a dozen ministers who are unhappy with the Chief Minister. There have been MLAs who've been complaining about the government's handling of the COVID situation. The suggestion within the BJP that the Chief Minister is run and dictated to by bureaucrats and he doesn't take the political class along. How true are these insinuations and complaints in your view? What is the Chief Minister doing to address these?
See, Rahul, BJP has 325 MLAs and almost 60 odd member of parliaments. I'm sure everyone have their own concerns, and every concern may not be even sorted, right? So this is a large state which is unequal to anyone. This is the first time he's becoming chief minister. His working relationship with the party is also evolving. I think these are not the issues for taking him out, or that can be electoral issue. And because, as you already said, Sunil Bansal, Swatan Dev Singh, they are big, the old party timers, and they're sorting it out, and they will sort it out at opportune time. I think coming to just, if you give me half a minute on Panchayat election, 2015, the last Panchayat election, SP won 1,500 seat out of the 3,000 odd seat, and what they did in 2017, we all know. So Panchayat election, as any indicator of assembly election,
no, but I can counter argue to say that that is because the Samajwadi Party was in power in the state at that time, and typically governments, parties which have a government in the state tend to do well in local body elections.
Rahul,
BJP has done badly despite being in power in Lucknow.
Rahul, the way Sharad Pawar has his politics lied on the in Maharashtra on lot of this pyaz mandis, lot of this cotton mandis. Zilla Panchayat election is the main political pillar of Mulayam Singh Yadav from last 3 decades. If you just see Panchayat elections, he's doing good. In fact, first time BJP is fighting full-blown Panchayat election. In fact, if you see, in next 10-15 days, the chairmans will come. So Zilla Panchayat election resulted only chairman. Last time they have 62 chairmans. I doubt they can't make even 35-40 chairmans, because these are not on party symbol. Even Aam Aadmi Party is claiming we have 200-250 seats.
Okay, Ghanshyam Tiwari wants to respond to that.
This is a blatant lie. BJP was the only party in this Panchayat election that announced its 3,000 candidates. So let's not lie on a national television. As far as BJP's preparation for Panchayat election was concerned, Mr. Radha Mohan Singh was made in charge. He was sent from Delhi exactly for that. They formed 6 teams. Adityanath was made to lead those teams. He was not responsible for COVID response. He was responsible for Panchayat election. So let's not, just like the dead bodies in Ganga, let us not float another lie as a dead body that nobody would care for. The reality is,
okay, I don't want both guests speaking at the same time. I want to now look ahead to the elections, and I want to ask Yashwant Deshmukh and Sanjay Kumar, starting with Yashwant Deshmukh, about the possibility of an alliance between opposition parties. We're seeing what's being said publicly among Akhilesh, Mayawati, Rahul, Chandrasekhar Azad. Now Tiket is a factor, the farmer leader, and Jayant Chaudhary of the RLD. Is there a possibility that some or all of these players could come together? Who's coming together poses the biggest headache for the BJP? Yashwant Deshmukh.
Well, never say never in politics, Rahul, that is for sure. But having said that, obviously the critical 2 parties are SP and the BSP. You know, unless they come together, this so-called Mahagathbandhan is not going to pick up any shape whatsoever it is. And having said that, even if when they come together, they have to show the resolution, they have to show the sincerity. You see, it is not that defeating Modi, Shah and BJP is impossible. So many leaders have done that. We have recently seen Mamata Banerjee doing so much. So basically, if you want to defeat BJP, if you want to defeat Modi, Shah, Yogi combination, if you want to do that, then you have to work hard like Mamata Banerjee. You have to work with the same level of intensity to fight hard like Mamata Banerjee.
No, okay, so one theory is...
Just listen to me. If Akhilesh Yadav shows even 10% of that fighting spirit of Mamata Banerjee, he will become the chief minister. Forget about Mamata Banerjee. If Akhilesh Yadav shows even 50% of the grit and determination that Ghanshyam Tiwari is showing on the show, he will become the chief minister.
Sanjay Kumar, one scenario is this Maha opposition Gathbandhan, which is tough given what happened after 2019 between Akhilesh and Mayawati, what Mayawati has said about the futility of the alliance. That's a tough one. But can I present to you another scenario? If you've got Akhilesh Yadav, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, Tiket, the farmer leader, Jayant Chaudhary, Chandrasekhar Azad on the same opposition omnibus alliance, minus Mayawati, can this alliance also pose a real threat to the BJP, give them a run for their money?
I think this would be the best alliance to pose a challenge for BJP. Imagine a situation, Rahul, if Mayawati also joins the alliance. I don't think that is going to be a good alliance because then BJP might have the advantage of an anti-alliance polarization, and that might create a situation like what happened in Assam. This alliance would pose a challenge to BJP, but they may not be able to win this election because BJP will campaign only on one issue. Look who all have joined hands together to defeat us. So the kind of alliance which you presented, Rahul, in my opinion, that is going to be the best alliance to pose a challenge for BJP.
Rahul Srivastav, you spent a large part of your reporting career tracking the politics of Uttar Pradesh. Is it possible, starting from Western Uttar Pradesh, for these farmer leaders, farmer parties to get together? I know that the BJP doesn't like Chandrasekhar Azad Raman. He poses a threat, especially because of his appeal among the younger Jatav Dalit voters, who are also Mayawati's vote bank. But Mayawati now doesn't have the kind of control over the younger Dalits as she did over the Dalits who were nurtured by Kanchiram. Is there a possibility that this kind of an alliance could come together?
See, Rahul, alliances can come together. The crisis is, can they work? I think if there is Mayawati out of an alliance and this kind of alliance comes up, the idea of getting the anti-BJP vote together kind of gets diluted. I think what has happened in Bengal perhaps holds the key, in which the left and the Congress was such weak force that all the anti-BJP vote went to one kitty. Somebody will have to duck out of this election. Perhaps Congress not fight with as much intensity. Somebody, the two big egos are Akhilesh and Mayawati. One ego will have to get stifled, and then if somebody fights as a front, rest hold themselves back, BJP can be defeated.
You know, as our viewers well know, we don't care for who wins. We care enough to ensure that you get the best coverage, the best analysis, the best insights into the UP election here on India Today. That is our network's guarantee, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation. This will be a fascinating election. If the BJP had won in West Bengal, it would have been one-way traffic, but the opposition now senses an opportunity. But the pieces are too fragmented, the parties separated. Unless they come together, it won't be easy to challenge the might of the BJP. And some of this is just, semantics. What we're seeing play itself out. Yogi is still a formidable leader. He's built an image for himself. He will be tough to dislodge. But if Akhilesh Yadav gets busy on that cycle, if the opposition is able to put together an umbrella coalition, then this will be an exciting election. And this is your ticket for the best coverage of the elections. For the time being, Sanjay Kumar, Yashwant Deshmukh, Sharad Pradhan, Rahul Srivastav, Shantanu Gupta, Ghanshyam Tiwari and Anila Singh for joining me on this Newstrack. Thank you very much. Nothing